What is up, everybody? My name is Adam, otherwise known as Young NBA Analyst. Before this video starts, as I always say, make sure you follow me on my Instagram at Young NBA Analyst. I post a lot of content on there. And make sure you subscribe to my podcast. I'm trying to get that going. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 most underrated NBA legends of all time. This is just my personal opinion, but I feel like these NBA legends, they're NBA legends for a reason, and I feel like they really often get overlooked. So I'm here to talk about them. Now, Wes Unsworth was absolutely incredible. He was actually one of 2 players to win MVP in their rookie season, the other being Wilt Chamberlain. He was a phenomenal rebounder and, in general, a great defensive player. He wasn't a great offensive player, so his defense had to make up for his offensive lacks, but it did. He was an incredible defensive player, and he won a championship in 1978 and won Finals MVP, and he won it with his partner, another great player I think is a little underrated. He just didn't make the list, Elvin Hayes. And coming in at number 4, we have Walt Frazier. Now, Walt Frazier I'm actually a huge fan of him. He was an absolutely incredible defensive player, being a 7-time all-defensive player. He was a great playmaker. I think he's actually still the Knicks franchise leader in assists. He was a pretty good scorer, but his defense is really where he stood out. Just an absolutely incredible defender. He was a valuable piece on 2 championship teams in the early 70s, and I think he deserves way more respect. Coming in at number 3, we have Moses Malone. It's honestly a shame that Moses Malone is an underrated legend. This man was a legit 3-time MVP, enough said. Now, for real, he's 9th all-time on the all-time scoring list, and he's 5th on the all-time rebounding list. He was given the nickname Chairman of the Boards because he was amazing on the boards. He's one of the best offensive rebounders ever. He was an incredible scorer. He was really crafty with the ball. He's an absolutely amazing two-way player. He's actually a 2-time all-defensive player as well. And he won the Finals MVP in 1983 alongside Julius Erving. That was part of the famous faux Sixers playoff run. At number 2, we have Elgin Baylor. Now we're taking it way back to the good old days of the NBA. Baylor is 3rd in points per game and 10th in rebounds per game. So like Moses Malone, he's a great scorer and a great rebounder. He was just in general a very dominant offensive player, and it really helped him dominate in the 60s. He wasn't much of a defensive player, but his offense made up for it. Incredible scorer, just incredible rebounder. He actually inspired future generations of athletic wings since he was the first to ever do it. It's honestly, I see a lot of disrespect to Elgin Baylor, and it really makes me upset just because of how talented a player he was. I see some polls everywhere where they go to NBA Twitter, NBA Instagram. I see so many polls of being like current players compared to Elgin Baylor, and the disrespect I see to Elgin Baylor is honestly just criminal. I don't even know what to say. Elgin Baylor deserves so much more respect. He would have been number 1 had it not been that number 1 on this list is just on another level type of underrated. And finishing at our number 1 spot, we have the logo himself, Jerry West. I said it was a shame that Moses Malone is underrated. I said it was a shame that Elgin Baylor was underrated. But Jerry West, the logo himself, how is this man an underrated legend? I mean, for the most part, most people do consider him a top 20 player of all time. I think he's a top 15 player of all time, like very close to the top 10. But it's insane. Like, he was one of the most clutch players of all time, given the nickname Mr. Clutch. He's 5th in points per game. He was an absolutely incredible scorer. One of the best scorers of all time. He was a pretty good playmaker, but I think a very underrated part of his game was his defense. He was actually a 5-time all-defensive player, and a lot of people talk about his offense, but don't really talk about his defense. And I think just he has so many legendary moments that come with his career. I don't even know what to say. Like, he's a phenomenal player, great player. It's unfortunate that he gets a lot of disrespect, but I think he's just a very talented player in general on both ends of the court. He was super dominant. He played the game the right way. He's he had a very high basketball IQ. That's what I mean by that. And I think Jerry West deserves a lot more respect. And I think he needs to be higher on people's all-time rankings. Okay, I see him very low quite often. Okay, well, not very low, but I see him lower than he should be quite often. And it's just sad because just how legendary Jerry West was. And I hate how people try to write him off by talking about how he played back in the 60s. Unfortunately, I hate when people do that. It's called timeline bias, when they basically just write off a player because of the era they played in. Usually it's when they played in an older era. I hate that. Jerry West is a victim of that, and it needs to stop. That is why Jerry West is the most underrated NBA legend of all time. And that's going to end today's video, so make sure you guys subscribe, turn on those post notifications so you don't miss any of my future videos. Make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. With that being said, always remember, clutchness forever.